Hello, everybody. Let's go. We're here at the first episode of the Pizza Time Chronicles. I've been waiting all week for this. Victor has been waiting all week for this. And we got such a great show today. We're going to be talking about social justice and how we could better approach it. And today, my special guest, the amazing, the insightful, the very handsome Victor Cabral. Victor Cabral, introduce yourself to the world.
Hey man, thank you for the compliments. But yeah, my name is Victor Cabral. I'm a licensed social worker. Work as a psychotherapist part time. I'm also the first Black Latino William Penn Fellow with Governor Wolf's William Penn Fellowship, and I am currently, I guess you could say, stationed in the policy office in the Department of Human Services. So I do some policy work there. And yeah, that's about the gist of what I do for professionally. I have an 8-year-old daughter and a 8-month-old baby girl, and I'm married. So just some quick facts about myself. But yeah, that sums it up.
So, Victor, today we got to start the first episode with a banger, but not only a banger, but something that's important, what's currently happening in today's social climate, social justice. Black Lives Matter movement has been exploded ever since May. It's still going on today, strong. I'm so happy to see it. And we basically just want your insight on what's going on right now. So I just want to jump into the questions. What does social injustice mean to you?
Well, there's a lot there for me personally. So the first thing that comes to mind is social justice is one of the core values in the Code of Ethics for social workers, which is, I take my role very seriously as a social worker. So it's what I took an oath to uphold. And so it's very important to me. And social justice means, striving for everyone in our society and in the world to have equitable opportunities and that we're all treated the same, right? And so that could be in any arena, that could be in any social injustice that we're seeing. And right now, fortunately, we're seeing the Black Lives Matter movement go globally, and our communities coming together to speak up and fight against centuries of oppression and brutality, right? Yeah, that's social justice for me is something that I embody. I feel like social work was just something that gave me a title, but I've always been this person, right? Because of my experiences, because of the way that my mom and my dad raised me. I remember I remember there was a woman that was going through a domestic violence situation. We didn't know her, but my mom used to own a store in Lancaster, and she stopped in and she had been assaulted, and my mom took her in, right? And I don't say that because of the gesture or her doing that, right? That's not why I say it. But I saw that. That's what my mom showed me, right? She always looked out, tried to look out for others, and looked out for our family members, and so it was always something that was kind of taught to me. And social work just kind of let me have a title and a fancy 3 letters at the end of my name and be able to say, like, this is what I do for a career now.
And I love how you mentioned that this is globally. The last time I checked, these protests, these very amazing protests are happening in 13 other countries. I don't know if it expanded past that, but the fact that there is a global need, there's a global focus on this, it's definitely more impactful. And, it's especially during a time where we already feel trapped with COVID-19 and having to be staying at home, being limited to what we can do. And then this happened. So there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of things going on in people's lives. And then people just had it. This is the last thing that needed to happen during this social climate. A lot of us just want to get back to normality, which at this point, we don't know when that is. But when this happened, knowing that this is one of the biggest problems that we face in 2019, in 2018, and knowing how 2020 is going for a lot of people, this was the time. We're entering a new decade, and we can't continue another one with these problems at hand. And I want to jump into the next question because I know this question has a lot of definition to a lot of people. What does being a person of color in America mean?
Well, I can't speak for everyone, right? Because I think everyone's subjective experience of their identity is it can be similar, but in many ways it's unique. So for me, it means intersectionality. Like it means, what makes me the person that I am is so many different sections of who I am that come together at one point, right? So I'm a first generation immigrant. I'm a Black Latino. I grew up in inner city Reading. I have a high ACEs score, right? If you talk about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So, so for me, being a person of color in this country is a constant navigation of multiple faces or multiple identities that you have to kind of navigate, and it can get difficult, and like I said, I work as a psychotherapist, and a lot of the work that I do is with young professionals and of color who struggle with that, struggle with all of the different roles they have to play, and who they have to present themselves as in different spaces. So it's a complicated experience, and it's burdensome at times. It's beautiful that we have so many parts to us, but it can also be something that can be a heavy burden.
Definitely, I like to reiterate, it can be a heavy burden. That's why I say this question has a lot of definition to a lot of people. It means something different to everybody. Not everybody who's a person of color experiences the same thing. Some people don't experience anything, and it could be hard for them to stand up for moments like these because they never experienced it. They don't, and they want to learn, but those who have been hurt for so long, it's hard for them to teach them because they shouldn't notice what's going on within their own communities. And I think that's where I'm seeing with people who are worried that a lot of people of color are not speaking out. And I think first, there's some people who are not assertive at all. Like they don't speak up for anything. It's hard for them. It could be a lot of anxiety building up. They don't know how to express themselves. But another part of it is that some people have not experienced what other people are facing in their respective community.
And I'm sorry, Drew.
No,
I was just gonna say, and that's you don't have to necessarily have the same experience as someone to be able to empathize and show compassion, right? And I think that is where we're lacking, right? Because if you listen to people and you listen to what their experience is, there's no need for you to have to go through that, right? If you go through it, then you're gonna have a stronger perspective, right? And you're gonna have a stronger understanding of that situation. But if you don't understand, then at least move into that situation with compassion and empathy. And that's all people are asking for. They're not asking you to own the movement that if it's not yours, right? They're asking for you to understand and ally yourself, right? And see the injustice and speak up and say something. you don't have to be a Black man in America or a Latino in America or whatever other, different sectors of people of color to look at what happened to George Floyd and say that is wrong and it's disgusting, right? You don't have to understand that man's complete experience to be able to look at that and say this shouldn't be happening, right? And so it doesn't take, in my opinion, you don't have to understand my complete experience to know that that's the wrong thing. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on that.
Going into this, I'm looking at these protests, I'm looking at these gatherings, obviously they're empowering and that people are united now, but some people take this as a trend. They see it die out and they just wait till the next incident like this happens and then we unite again. But I think there's something that's important that we necessarily don't always address, and that is the divide between people of color and how we should be united always, not just during times like this. Do you believe there's a divide between people of color?
I wouldn't call it a divide. I would say like differences, yes, because there's differences in experiences and differences in priorities, right? So when you have two groups that are coming together, no matter what two groups you're talking about, one group may have, while they may share some of the things that you are trying to fight for, they also have things that are unique to their own community that they're fighting for, right? And so I think that there needs to be dialogue there and understanding to be able to come to a compromise of what can we fight for together and what can we focus on together. In terms of divide among people of color, of course, I think divide or not divide, again, like differences, I think that is part of the human experience, right? So if you look within Latino culture, you'll see how are Black Latinos treated, how are indigenous Latinos treated. How many indigenous Latinos do you see in novelas when you watch novelas, right? How many Black Latinos do you see when you watch novelas? So like there's differences, and I think that there are things about at least I can speak for Latino culture that we need to address and address that are very real and that we tend to kind of brush off and forget about. And especially in times like this, you were talking earlier about being able to understand and relate. If you look at how Black Latinos are treated, right, or how Haitians are treated in Dominican Republic, or and if you go through South America and Latino America, right, you're going to see a very stark difference between how Black Latinos are treated and white passing Latinos, right? So, and if you can understand that, then you can understand what's going on in this country and what's going on with our Black brothers and sisters. So, yeah, I might have gone on a tangent there, but
no, you're all good.
There's definitely differences that we need to be able to work together and work out, so that we can move toward a common goal. But like I said, I think that's a normal thing to happen with any groups that are trying to come together. The question is, are the injustices that we're facing as people of color strong enough to bring us together to set those differences aside, or put them on hold, right, until we can meet our goals that we've set together.
And that is on the dot. You hit it right there, Victor. Honestly, it's going to take dialogue. It's going to take communication and compromising in between our people and to make this stronger. I think when we're strong, we are stronger when we are united. And at the end of the day, if we stay united, we will get the justice that we need. And that's my belief.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it's like we also have to be able to respect the fact, like one of the things that I've come to, like, I know what my experience was like as a Black Latino and how I was treated, by family. My grandmother's you know, my grandmother's Black, right? She's Dominican, but she's Black. And I remember how my grandmother, her view of herself, right? That, and where that came, you know, now that I'm older, I'm understanding that comes from years of colonialism, and it comes from years of like all of these other things that we don't know about our history. So I've come to embrace my Blackness, right? But also very, very strongly respect the fact that the experience of an African American man in this country and mine are similar in some ways, but they're also very different. And in order for us to be able to have a dialogue, I have to understand that and respect it, right? And all you have to do is look at the data to know that African American men and African American women especially are the most oppressed group in this country. So you have to respect that, right? And you have to come to the table with a respect for that, so that then we can come to a dialogue and a compromise together.
Very true, very true. And I guess this leads into the next question. What is it going to take to gain equity?
I don't, I feel like when I give an answer to this, it's idealistic, right? The task is to dismantle the system, right? The systems that have been built in this country, that oppress, you know, that were built on oppression. And then, you know, I was reading this meme the other day that said that people misunderstand when we say racism, right? When we talk about racism, people think it's someone being racist towards another person. But if I take your computer, your laptop, right? And I am a coder, I'm a software developer, and I have a racist bias toward you and pizza, whatever, right? And I code that computer in a way that responds differently to you than it does to an average user, then I don't have to operate that computer anymore after I give it to you for it to have all of those biases ingrained in it, right? It's already in the system. It's in the software, right? And that's what's at the core of the issues that we're seeing today, is a systemic issue that we need to dismantle. And that's done through policy, that's done through protesting and community engagement and coming together and developing, you know, through that togetherness, developing policies that knock down these institutions or restructure these institutions in a way that's more equitable. And that's a big task, right? That's not going to happen from one day to another. But I will say that I'm very hopeful in the younger generations, you know, the teenagers coming up now, the young kids, I feel like have a different type of bond, right? Like, and I feel that with my upbringing too. Like, I grew up in Reading High. I went to Reading High, so my circle of friends was very diverse. In college, it was the same thing, very diverse group of friends. And so through that, you learn, like, this person is just as much a human being as I am, right? And I think that perspective is stronger among our youth than it is as you know, go up in generations and to older folks.
And I just want to finish up with this question. I have another fun question after this. You know, my podcast, we like to ask fun questions. But I think this one's important. What is the one takeaway that you have from all of that's what's happening right now? The protests, the people speaking out, you know, us coming united, us creating more dialogue. What is the one takeaway that you're getting from all of this?
Do something. Do something.
Love it.
You know what I mean?
Like
do
that.
Something to support the movement. Do something to push progressive ideas forward. Do something to reform the system. Don't just talk, right? And I talk a lot, but I also try to do a lot. I can't say that you know, I can't say that I'm changing. I don't know, right? But I know that I get up every day and I try to do something that moves things forward. So my number one takeaway is, like, like do something, be compassionate, like feel the pain of the people around you, your brothers and sisters, your fellow human beings, and do something, right? And yeah, that's my thing, like do something, right?
Right
Get
on the
active,
dot.
get
That
active.
that hit me right there. And I love that answer. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that too. And, before we close out the podcast today, Pizza Time Chronicles. Victor, the world needs to know, what is your favorite pizza? And where did you get it from?
You know what? The first pizza that I had when I moved to Reading in '96 from New York City was Pizza Time, right? So we used to order. They used to have the coupons in the phone book all the time, and we used to buy pizza from there and the Fat Boy wings. So yeah, I like Pizza Time, man. It's one of my favorite spots. I like the cheesy bread that they got.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I try to stay away from pizza though. I'm trying to get in shape, and that ain't a good look.
Well, there you have it, my people. You got your first recommendation on the first episode, Pizza Time in Reading, PA. I believe it's Lancaster Avenue.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. There you have it. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, listen, if you love this episode today, you're going to love every single one after this. We got a movement. We're going to have conversations like these that are important, And as I always say, the best conversations happen when there's pizza involved. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This is my very good friend, Victor. Victor, say goodbye. And until next time, my friends, this is only the beginning. Trust the process.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
All right. See you.
See you.